Welcome to HC Magazine's People You Should Know. I'm your host, David Maddalena. With me today is one of my favorite people as a pioneer in the industry. It's a good friend of mine, Mr. Casey Stark. You know, Casey has, since 2009, been tirelessly working with entrepreneurs, advocates, politicians, doctors, patients, farmers, you name it, all to create reliable cannabis markets from Alaska to Florida, essentially. He does way more than I could ever imagine that I could myself do, and every time I talk to him, I feel like I'm not doing enough in this industry. So 20 minutes is probably not enough to cover everything that Casey does, but we're going to see what we can do anyway. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Mr. Casey Stark to the show. Casey, how are you today?
Hey, good afternoon, David. The revolution lives on. Thank you for all your work.
Hey, man, thank you. You know, you're one of those people that is just always so passionate, and you always have a sound bite, which is kind of impressive to me. Whenever somebody's talking to you, you always seem to know exactly what to say. You know, let's kind of start from the beginning, Casey. How did you get into this industry? In 2009, you know, you're a pioneer, man. You've been doing this for a long time.
That's, serendipity is a funny little finger. And it all began really back in 1974 at the age of 8. I was left a very stringent Christian academy, was put into public school in second grade, got into a fight rather rapidly with the other classmen there at that cute little public education elementary school, and was quickly adopted by the upperclassmen, basically fifth and sixth graders. And it was 1974. A long hair, blonde hair Christian kid, looked like the Partridge Family, and was adopted by these upperclassmen. So that night after school, we all walked home. I felt like a made man. I got in trouble with the teachers, and everyone and the upperclassmen loved it. Went back home that day. They put me in charge of the record player, started putting on Deep Purple, Smoke on the Water, and consumed my first joint that day at the age of 8. Knowing that
that's young. You know, that's definitely younger. I didn't start till 18. So wow, that's impressive. Actually,
well, it was odd because I never knew the stereotypes that it would make you lazy or stupid. So it never had that effect on me. I was a straight A student all through elementary school, even through college, and dropped out because I found it rather boring. It was not hard enough. The infantry was harder than college. But yeah, 1974, smoked my first joint and was kind of put to work. Hashtag disclaimer, you know, limitations here. I was a child. But full disclosure, yeah, after school, I'd be on my little Schwinn bike, zipping around the schools, doing pickup and drop off for the upperclassmen. Never thought it was really illegal as a child. I just knew it was something you didn't tell mom and dad. But I've been exposed to cannabis since the age of 8.
Wow.
And only stopped when I joined the military and began again thereafter.
See, now I had no idea you were in the military. I don't think you've ever mentioned that one to me. What branch?
Well, you know, it's top secret clearance, Dave. We got to keep those things tight.
What branch?
Now my cover's blown, sir.
Yeah, I know. Too late.
Too late. No, it's been fantastic. The best thing that ever happened to me is having good parents. You know, they gave, you got a free will, kid, use it, you're responsible for it. And dream big and do whatever you want. And I've lived that motto out of respect for my parents ever since. And for the last 10 years, have been able to do it legally. Starting there in Colorado, just south of you, in the second largest city, Colorado Springs, as a revolution kicked off with the Obama administration in 2008. And
you did something,
the medical, the recreational.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you did something really unique in Colorado Springs. And for those of you out there who don't know about Colorado Springs, it's, you know, people talk about the Bible Belt. I always think of Colorado Springs as like the Bible Belt buckle. It's like it all seems to kind of meet there in a way. And so it's a pretty conservative town compared to a lot of the rest of what we would call the Front Range, you know, Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins, and then you have Colorado Springs that definitely leans heavily on the right side of things when it comes to politics. And you actually created the first licensed cannabis club, so to speak. Is that, I mean, would that be the right way to put it?
Historically, yeah. It's one of the greatest achievements I've ever had on my resume, to create a license that does not exist. With the passage of November 2012 of A64, recreational in Colorado, it became obvious to me. What popped in my head was what I learned in elementary school as I was smoking joints, Brown versus the Board of Education, that we are all, separate is not equal. So even as a child, I realized that there's discrimination. And to discriminate against me as an adult to consume, I found unconstitutional. So I created what is historically the first licensed cannabis club. Not a caregiver, not some phony little sign over this for that, not a collective like we have in California. No, we had three very simple principles: the right to privacy, the freedom of association, and be nice, be kind, because your membership can be voided at any time. So we defended adults' rights, stood up against 2 cease and desist orders, refused to shut down in the face of rather large powers there, mayors, chief of police, zoning, city council. But the people stood with us because I defended them, they defended me. We marched on City Hall. We changed the world that day. If it would have been in a bigger city, it may have gotten more press. But for me, the fact that we were able to do that proves that even a fool and a college dropout and a U.S. infantry kid with a blue-collar family background can change the world. And that's what we preach to all of our clients, is that, give me the right people, the right place, the right plan, and you can do anything, anytime, even when they say you cannot and you're going to go to jail for it.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good life.
It was, and it was what was cool about the space. It was Studio 64. Am I saying that right?
Studio A.
Studio for amendment, of course, I knew that. Studio A64. So what was really cool about what you did there is you created really a meeting place for people to come and discuss cannabis rights and freedom and how to end prohibition. And what happened was all these people were coming to you. And I know you created some businesses as an entrepreneur out of the network you developed. Can you speak a little bit about those?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. My principle has always been, learn how to do it yourself, sell it, and then teach others how to do it. So after launching my first medical marijuana op, my goal was to have her for less than 2 years. That was very successful. Going on from there, I went and launched doctors' offices. That was very successful, built that empire, and then started teaching and training others how to do those things with the guidance and help with what I call the Mark Twain of marijuana common sense law, Mr. Charles T. Howden, Esquire, my partner in policy and business at the time. We have successfully trained and launched over 100 businesses across this country in 10 years. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
And they're all different. It's powerful to meet Americans with visions, but they don't know exactly how to put those pieces together or have a network or can overcome the fear and financial factors that are involved in cannabis, pot, politics, power, success cycles.
Do you have a favorite?
It's been maddening.
Do you have a favorite success story out of the businesses that you've opened, Casey?
Studio A64 is probably my favorite because there was no license for it. It was absolutely forbidden. We were taken to court, cease and desist twice. So as an American, I could have died right there in that studio, smoking a joint, playing the piano, and been happy because we proved a point.
Right.
The founding fathers' principles, even in their hypocrisy with slavery, they believe that, that we have the right to pursue a more perfect union. And we have the right to freedom of association. We have the right to private property. If that's my property and if that's my right, you don't have to agree with me, but you can't take my right away if we defend it. And that's what's caused this revolution is Americans. It's not large corporations or Wall Street that have done this for us. They're piggybacking on it now and riding the wave with celebrity endorsements. But people like you, David, people that are listening to this radio show, the decade around you, those hundreds of marijuana operations around you that outnumber Starbucks and marijuana and McDonald's in Denver, those people change the world. It's been a Weed Street to Wall Street lifestyle, blue collar, 1974 Schwinn bike, drive around dropping off Ziploc bags before they had a zip on them.
No, it has.
And for most of my life, I've looked in my back mirror thinking, I'm one bad day away from being a criminal, not a good veteran, not a good father, not a good son, but a criminal.
Yep. One attorney general who's got a bug up his butt, right? Yeah. I mean, it is amazing. It still can change at any minute on the marijuana side of things. And we both have been around. I mean, I lived in Colorado Springs before I moved up to Denver, so I know Colorado Springs really well. And I used to love coming down and visiting you guys over at the studio. And
good times, Dave.
Oh yeah, those are good times. And people don't realize. I hear people like, "Oh, it's the Wild West." I'm like, yeah, the Wild West was when people were walking around with backpacks, walking into dispensaries with like, "Hey, check out this blueberry kush I have. Do you guys want to buy it?" And the dispensary would be like, "Sure, I need to buy some more weed." And that was
2009. Sounds like Oklahoma today.
2009. I remember helping facilitate a wholesale deal at midnight in Colorado Springs at a KFC parking lot. And I was like, is this even legal? And the person's like, I think it is, because there was no regulations at the time. None of the bills had come through yet, kind of creating
that was Amendment 20 protections prior to 1120 House Bill 1284, I think.
Yeah.
Back in 2009 or 2010, and that's where this power is at. I'm a simple cat. But let's look at the big facts here, Dave. Since we started doing this, it's gone. We're looking at a 24.4% CAGR growth rate.
Yeah.
It's gone just astronomical.
It has.
Since 2014, it was like a little tiny baby, 3.4 billion. Right now we've tripled that basically to 10.9 billion, and it's still illegal federally. In less than 10 years, you're looking at $60 billion markets from a plant that Americans can grow in their backyard.
Yeah.
The opportunities are profound.
They are. They absolutely are. I'm going to take this moment to take a quick break, Casey, and then we're going to come back. And I kind of want to talk about what you stepped into after your time in Colorado Springs, because you've been up to a lot. So we'll be right back.
Like a chain, Dave.
That's right. We'll be right back in just a moment. Want to be a true hempster? Visit us at hcmagazine.com and subscribe to our weekly news updates, or download our app for Android or iOS mobile devices. Now, get hemp with style wherever you are. We're back with Mr. Casey Starr. Casey, we just kind of left off talking about, Studio A64, Colorado Springs. We kind of talked a little bit about, the true Wild West days of marijuana legalization here in Colorado. And after you actually sold your interest of Studio A64, and then you kind of, because, you're one of those people that, man, Rolling Stone gathers no moss. And I always think of you when I think of a phrase like that, because you are never sitting still. And so what have you been doing since you left what you built in Colorado Springs? What are you building and working on right now?
The motto is plan, build, expand, build to sell, or build to inherit. So my policy is typically to build those businesses, and we've actually traveled with Mr. Houghton and myself. He's out in Cali now. We've all gone on our solo Lone Ranger modus operations now. I'm running masterminds all across America, helping clients with those business plans. Specifically targeting Missouri, the 18th largest state. The application here consists of over 34,000 words and 175 different attachments. It's a Harvard school for business, and you have to do it in about 60 days. So that kind of work excites me. I've diversified most of my operations, going into new venues. I've owned medical, I've owned recreational, I've owned medical clinics, I've owned academies. Now I've gone and diversified, sold all those businesses and diversified into pure CEO to CEO consulting, business development, as well as genetic nursery, high CBD genetic nurseries. And
so that's hemp. I just want to be clear. You're talking about hemp now?
Yes, sir.
See, yeah. So this is such a common occurrence I'm seeing now, and I love seeing this. And I'd love to be able to take credit for this, being one of those crossover hybrid magazines. I don't know if I can say this, but a lot of the marijuana pioneers that I know of back in the day on the marijuana side, of course, are now stepping into the hemp side of things, and I do think this is happening all across the country. And so, what are some of the opportunities that you saw in hemp, and why did you see that it was time to jump into that end of the cannabis coin, so to speak?
Well, it's a true story. I thought it would be impossible, so I like the impossible. I was sitting around with a buddy watching the very final end of Game of Thrones. And we've been talking. I said, dude, you want to compete?
Oh, Casey, I'm losing you if you're moving around.
Big dogs.
There you go.
Yeah, so we were literally happened after Game of Thrones. About 3 years ago, a buddy kind of on a dare. I thought it would be impossible. The idea of creating a brand in the hemp market, developing from ground up, from seed to home, product manufacturing, distribution. And I told him, dude, this is almost impossible. You know, there's hundreds of brands on Amazon. There's 4 or 5 big players. There's hundreds of thousands of square feet canopy space already in this. But I kind of like the idea of doing the impossible, like with Studio 54. I said, you know what? Let's do it. I'll take a bet. Let's put down, pick a number, throw down a couple $1,000 here on each side and see what happens. Within 24 hours, we had a product line developed. Within 3 weeks, I had my boxes and product list and manufacturing funnels and set up. And within, 3 months, we're on Amazon. And within 12 months, she's financially viable and has paid off her initial investor contributions. And there she is, a little baby hemp monster created on a bet after a movie. Crazy. So anybody can do this. It's dream big, but then plan smart.
So what is the name?
Build, expand.
What's the name of your little hemp monster?
My little hemp monster is called Black Box Hemp.
Black Box Hemp.
And she has changed actually in the last 3 years. It's so fun with a product line. First time I've tried to do this with a full line of products. I mean, just, try designing like a 12-sided box, for example, just all by yourself, and try to have all, it forces me to learn those things, learn about labeling, learn about FDA, learn about USDA, learn about Amazon, learn about PPC, learn about Google Ads, and then I can tell you about it, Dave. I can tell someone else about it, so they don't have to go through that beat-up cycle that a little baby monster company does. Now, my beat-up can help them not get beat up, and I can train them to do what I've done, and even better if they choose. Fascinating.
So, we don't have too much longer on our nice, quick conversation here, Casey. So I want to touch a little bit more on Black Box Hemp, and then I want to get, some kind of free advice from you for people out there who want to start a business. But first, on the Black Box Hemp side, you're also white labeling these products, are you not?
Yes, we've kind of morphed, and this is my chameleon principle. If you ever attend my academies, the chameleon principle is when we create something today which has the ability to be something else tomorrow, like a flower, like a seed, like a moth, like a butterfly. So we adapt and change. In business, I got news for you. If you're in business, you ain't never done planning. Because as soon as you are, you're like MySpace getting run over by Facebook in a freight train. So Black Box Hemp reacted to that. Within 12 months, there's like 600 brands on Amazon since we launched. And then there's the PPC battles and the price wars and the lies and misconceptions about hemp seed versus this. So we adapt, we change, we move faster. My drill sergeant told me, Casey, there's 2 types of people in the military, the quick and the dead. Don't be dead. So she ain't dead, she morphs. She uses that chameleon principle. She has changed from not only just a product line, but also a white label solution, so anybody can take any of our products at probably half the price of what you see them on Amazon, leave you room for markup, leave you room for growth, and you have a turnkey drop ship solution for any American listening to this radio show. And you don't have to get beat up like we did because we did it for you.
Right.
My main focus now is actually big, bad business development. Imagine, Dave, writing a 34,000-word application with 2-year financials, month-by-month burn rate, everything signed, sealed, delivered, and given to a state regulator within 60 days. I haven't gone to Harvard, but I've gone from Weed Street to Wall Street.
Yeah.
And it don't have to take a genius. It has to take hard work. And I've watched you work hard, David. In a world full of magazines, when magazines were dying, if you're listening to this show, when Dave started this magazine, magazines were going out of business. Newspapers were shutting down. It was a great recession. And the oldest newspaper in Colorado, I believe, Dave, I forget the name, went out of business.
Oh, the Gazette, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And there you were in the middle of a bloodbath trying to create a magazine. And I remember talking to you, I said, Dave, that's a bold move, dude. So here you are 10 years later, you know, diversified, more, chameleon principles, expanding, building it. I'm so proud of what you've done, dude.
Well, thanks, Casey.
Out there.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Well, listen, so, you know, with a couple minutes left, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see entrepreneurs in the cannabis space making when they step in? You know, as somebody who is advising these guys, helping be a coach to CEOs and COOs out there, what are the common pitfalls that you see people falling into?
Well, my daddy told me you can't stop stupid, but it don't mean you have to follow him. And there's a whole lot of stupid going on. You know, if you look at these, it's a very wild market. The laws change every day. It's like knee-jerk reactions will just turn you into a jerk. If you plan, you will not fail. If you fail to plan wisely, you are designed to fail. And if a blue-collar dropout entry grad like me can do this with just good parenting, then anybody can. Really, the biggest pitfall is failing to be the smartest person at the table. This is not going to come on a silver platter. It's going to come through blood, sweat, treasure, and tears. We've seen families divide. We've seen relationships fall apart. We've seen cities and counties bicker back and forth with the evil reefer madness. My job now is I'm twice retired. I just enjoy doing this for people.
That's what's funny with you, by the way.
I continue to do it.
I remember one time you said, Dave, I'm retiring. I'm not doing anything. And then next time I talked to you, you were like, oh yeah, I got like 5 more businesses I'm juggling. I'm like, yeah, your idea of retirement.
Off, and that was nice.
Yeah.
You know, it's the Studio 64. I sold those assets, the Business Academy, my medical center, my marijuana medical center, and just took a year off to evaluate things. But after about 3 months and watching everything on Netflix and going to the gym every day, I said, well, man, there's too much opportunity. My phone keeps ringing. And in less than 12 months, you know, we had 18 operations in Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania. It just keeps going on. Now we got new clients in Oklahoma, new clients in Missouri, new clients coming up in Kansas. It's just fascinating, Dave, and I give big tip of the hat to you and all those Americans that do this, because it is the hardest job I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Imagine being in a business where you're illegal and you're waving a flag saying, here I am.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's a bold American. And that's what we were founded on, the principles of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. This is a plant, people. Don't be stupid. Don't follow stupid.
Casey Stark, it is always a pleasure to have you and talk with you, man. I always look forward to our conversations. You always have that passion and freedom, and, you know, the rights for being an American in this country always seems to be at the forefront of everything you do. And that's one of those things I truly appreciate, man. Where can people find out more about what you're up to before we head out of here?
Well, I made a new baby. Her name is Cannabis Startup Incubator.
Okay.
And that works specifically directly with CEOs, startup companies, whatever company you want in this marketplace. We've done it. Grow rooms, medical, recreational, hemp, nurseries, production, manufacturing, security. There's not a client I don't think we haven't touched in this nation in some form of this aspect. And it fascinates me every day when someone can take a dream and turn it into a job.
All right. Awesome, man. So CannabisStartupIncubator.com, is that right?
You got it, Dave.
All right. All right, Casey Stark, you keep fighting the good fight, man. I really appreciate you coming on to the show today. And we'll have to check back with you, and it could be a week, and you could have 10 more businesses started up, man. I know how you roll, but we'll definitely be checking back with you at some point soon, maybe on the Hemp Connoisseur show. We really appreciate everything you do for this industry, and thanks for being a pioneer, and hope you've pulled all those arrows out of your back from getting everything started that you've done, man. You have a great day, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David.
All right, guys. That was a great talk with Mr. Casey Stark. For more information on everything we're doing here at HC Magazine's 100 People You Should Know, you can check out our apps that are now launched on Apple and on Android, or just visit us at hcmagazine.com. Please subscribe so we can send you our newsletter and you can keep up with everything we're up to. Until next time, peace, love, and happiness. You've been watching HC Magazine's People You Should Know. If you like what you've seen, please subscribe to us at hcmagazine.com, or you can download our app on Android and iOS devices. Now you can get hemp with style at your fingertips wherever you